Before the day truly begins, there is a quiet moment many people know, but rarely speak about. The alarm rings. You open your eyes, not because you feel ready, but because you have no choice. The room is still. The air feels heavy. For a few seconds, you lie there, staring at the ceiling, already feeling the weight of conversations you have not had yet, problems that are waiting for you outside the door. You are not weak. You are simply tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. Maybe yesterday asked too much from you. Maybe you held your words when you wanted to speak. Maybe you smiled while something inside stayed silent. And now morning arrives again, asking you to continue as if nothing happened. Have you ever noticed how the hardest part of the day is not the noise, but the moment before it begins? That quiet space where your thoughts whisper all the things you are afraid to admit. You tell yourself to be strong, to keep going. But strength sometimes feels like carrying stones no one else can see. There are mornings when the heart feels bruised for reasons you cannot explain. Mornings when you sit at the edge of your bed, breathing slowly, wondering how long you can keep pretending that you are fine. How many times have you walked into the world wearing calm on your face, while inside you were simply enduring? I know that feeling, the silence that stretches between breaths, the exhaustion that comes not from work, but from holding yourself together, the quiet fear that today might demand more than you can give. And yet, beneath all of this, there is something else, a small space that still watches, still observes, a part of you that has not given up. Even when you feel hollow, there is a way some people prepare for the day that does not depend on excitement or motivation. It begins before action, before words, before the world pulls you in different directions. It begins in how you meet your own mind when the day is still young, not with force, not with promises that everything will go perfectly, but with a certain calm willingness to face whatever comes, even if it is difficult. This is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about standing quietly inside yourself, long enough to remember that you can choose how you enter the day. Even when the world feels loud, even when you carry pain that no one notices, there is a gentle strength in preparing your heart before anything happens, as if you are greeting the day not as an enemy, but as something you are ready to walk beside. And perhaps that is where we should begin, with the simple question of how we meet the morning and what it asks from us before the first step is even taken. When the day begins to move faster, when voices and expectations start pressing against us, something very human happens. We encounter other people, and with them come words, reactions, misunderstandings. Sometimes a sentence spoken casually can stay in our mind for hours. Sometimes a look, a silence, or a careless tone can cut deeper than we expected. We wonder why it hurts so much. We wonder why people who seem ordinary can leave such heavy marks on us. The truth is, most people do not wake up thinking about how to hurt someone else. They move through life carrying their own fears, disappointments, habits, and blind spots. Many actions that wound us are not carefully planned attacks, but expressions of confusion, insecurity, or exhaustion. A person speaks sharply because they feel unheard. Someone withdraws because they do not know how to explain what they feel. Another judges quickly because judgment is easier than understanding from a calm point of view. These reactions reveal more about their inner world than about ours. This does not mean the pain is imagined. The sting is real. The silence after a harsh word is real. But what creates the wound is often not our worth being questioned, but our expectation that others will always see us clearly. Each person walks with their own lens, shaped by past experiences, fears, and beliefs they may not even recognize. When they react to us, they are often reacting to their own stories at the same time. Think about a simple moment at home. A family member speaks impatiently after a long day. The words sound heavy, almost unfair. At first, it feels personal, as if your efforts were unseen. Yet maybe they are carrying stress they cannot name. Maybe they learned long ago that frustration must come out quickly before it becomes weakness. Their tone reflects their state, not your value. Or consider a friend who suddenly becomes distant. The mind immediately asks, "Did I do something wrong?" But sometimes people pull away, not because of us, but because they are fighting battles they cannot explain without feeling vulnerable. In society, this becomes even more visible. Someone online criticizes harshly without knowing your story. A stranger shows impatience in public. A colleague dismisses your idea too quickly. It is easy to feel reduced, as if your identity has been judged in a moment. Yet the Stoic way of seeing reminds us that every action comes from the other person's understanding of the world at that time. Their reaction belongs to them. It comes from their training, their fears, their habits. It is not a final statement about who you are. There is something quiet and freeing in this perspective. If another person acts from their own limited perception, then their behavior is not a mirror reflecting our true worth. It is more like a window into their internal weather. Some days it is clear, some days it is stormy. And just as we do not blame the sky for rain, we slowly learn not to take every emotional storm as proof that we are broken. Still, this does not mean becoming indifferent or pretending not to care. A calm mind does not close its heart. It simply begins to separate what belongs to us from what does not. Our intentions, our choices, our responses, these remain in our hands. The judgments, moods, and reactions of others live outside that space. Learning this is not instant wisdom. It is a quiet practice that begins each time we pause before deciding what someone's behavior says about us. And yet, even when we understand this with our reason, something inside remains sensitive. We may tell ourselves that their words are about them, not us. We may recognize that their actions come from their own struggles. But the ache still appears. The chest still tightens. The mind still replays the moment in silence, as if trying to solve something deeper than logic can reach. So we begin to wonder, if we know that other people's actions reflect their own perceptions, if we understand that their behavior does not define our worth, then why does the heart continue to feel heavy? There is a quiet hour at night when everything slows down. The noise of the day fades. The conversations are over. The messages stop arriving. And suddenly, what remains is not the world outside, but the feelings that never truly left. This is often the moment when pain feels the clearest, not loud, not dramatic, just present, sitting beside you like something that has been waiting patiently all day to be noticed. Why does it hurt so deeply when someone wounds us? The answer is rarely found only in their words or actions. The deeper part lives inside our own expectations. We expect to be understood without needing to explain. We expect kindness from those close to us. We expect that effort will be seen. Loyalty will be returned. Sincerity will be recognized. These expectations are natural. They grow quietly from the desire to belong, to be safe, to feel that our presence matters. But expectation is a delicate thing. It reaches outward, hoping the world will respond in a certain way. And when reality moves differently, something cracks. Not because we are weak, but because we were invested. We cared. We imagined a certain response, a certain outcome, a certain warmth coming back to us. The pain often comes from the distance between what we hoped for and what actually happened. There is also attachment, not only to people, but to ideas about who we are in their eyes. We begin to carry invisible images of ourselves built through recognition. The reliable one, the kind one, the person who tries hard. When someone treats us carelessly, those images shake. It feels as though something stable inside has been questioned. The discomfort is not just about the moment itself. It is about the silent fear that maybe we are not seen the way we believed. And then there is the longing to be acknowledged. Few people admit how deeply they want this. To feel that their efforts matter, that their quiet sacrifices are noticed, that their pain is valid. When recognition does not arrive, the heart interprets the silence as rejection, even when no rejection was intended, even when the other person simply did not know how to see it. This is where the inner tension begins. The mind may understand many things. It may know that people are imperfect, distracted, limited by their own struggles. Yet the body still reacts. The chest tightens. The memory repeats. Emotion rises before reason has the chance to speak. And this is where the Stoic perspective becomes quietly meaningful, not as a rule, but as an observation about human nature. It does not ask us to erase feeling. It does not demand that we become cold or untouched. Feelings arrive on their own. They move through us before we can name them. Sadness, disappointment, anger, these are part of being alive. To deny them would be to deny something deeply human. The difference lies not in whether emotion appears, but in what happens after it arrives. Sometimes emotion wants to take control immediately. It tells a story. It builds conclusions. It whispers that this pain defines everything. Yet if we watch closely, emotion is often just the first wave. Strong, convincing, but temporary. Behind it, there is another space, quieter, slower, where understanding can grow, not to suppress what we feel, but to see it clearly before acting from it. Many people confuse this with indifference, but indifference closes the heart. What we are talking about is something else. It is the gentle ability to feel fully while refusing to be carried away without awareness. To notice the emotion, to allow it to exist, and still keep a small distance between the feeling and the choices we make next. This distance is subtle, almost invisible, yet it changes everything. And perhaps this is why pain lingers, because the part of us that hopes, that expects, that wants to be seen, is deeply human. It cannot simply disappear through understanding. Knowledge does not immediately dissolve attachment. Insight does not instantly quiet longing. We learn slowly through watching ourselves, through noticing the moments when emotion rises and how the mind follows behind in the quiet of the night. You may realize that pain is not an enemy trying to destroy you. It is a signal revealing where your heart is still holding tightly, where expectation still waits, where the desire for recognition still lives. And seeing this does not solve everything. It simply opens a door to a different kind of attention, softer, more honest, less rushed. The night grows deeper. Thoughts slow down, and somewhere between feeling and understanding, a gentle silence appears, as if something inside is preparing, quietly, for the first small practice that will come next. Morning arrives again, but something feels slightly different. Not because the world has changed, and not because people suddenly become easier to understand. The difference begins quietly inside, in the way we choose to meet what happens. Practice does not start with grand decisions. It starts with small moments that most people overlook, moments that pass quickly, but shape the entire day. Imagine a conversation at work. Someone speaks in a tone that feels colder than usual. In the past, that tone might have followed you for hours, replaying in your mind, creating invisible tension. The Stoic approach does not ask you to ignore the feeling. Instead, it invites a small pause. You notice the reaction inside, the tightening, the quick interpretation, and you allow a breath before deciding what it means. In that pause, you remember that another person's tone belongs to their state of mind, not to your value. You may still feel uncomfortable, but you no longer rush to carry the weight of their mood as if it were yours. Later in the day, perhaps at home, someone close to you speaks carelessly. The words land softly but leave a trace. The first impulse might be to correct them, to prove your intention, to make sure they understand you clearly. Yet practice sometimes looks like choosing calm curiosity instead of immediate defense. You listen, you notice your own desire to be right, and slowly you realize that not every misunderstanding must be solved in the same moment. Some things settle when we stop trying to control how others see us and begin caring for how we hold ourselves. There is another small practice that appears in ordinary social moments. A friend forgets to reply. A message remains unanswered longer than expected. The mind begins building explanations, many of them painful. The Stoic way gently shifts attention back to what is truly yours. You cannot control another person's timing, attention, or inner world, but you can notice the stories your mind creates in the silence. You can choose not to feed them immediately. Instead of chasing reassurance, you return to your own rhythm, allowing space for uncertainty without turning it into self-doubt. Sometimes the practice is even quieter. You walk through a crowded place and someone behaves impatiently. The atmosphere feels tense. In the past, you may have absorbed that tension without realizing it. Now you observe it the way you would observe changing weather. You recognize the energy around you. But you do not have to carry it home. You keep your posture calm, your pace steady. The external movement continues, yet your inner ground remains simple and stable. This focus on inner control does not mean withdrawing from life or becoming distant. It is more like learning where your true influence begins. You cannot shape every reaction you receive, and you do not need to. What you can shape is the space between what happens and how you respond. That space grows slowly through attention, through patience, through repeated moments of remembering that peace is built from within, not negotiated with the outside world. Even when strong feelings appear, practice remains gentle. You acknowledge the emotion without allowing it to decide everything. You might feel hurt, but you still speak with care. You might feel disappointed, but you choose not to turn that feeling into a judgment about yourself or others. Over time, this changes the texture of daily life. Situations that once felt heavy begin to pass more lightly, not because they disappear, but because you are no longer holding them so tightly. And gradually, something else happens. You begin to trust your own stability. Not a rigid strength, but a quiet steadiness that does not demand control over people or outcomes. You start to see that calm is not a gift given by perfect circumstances. It is something practiced in small, imperfect moments. A breath before reacting, a softer interpretation, a willingness to let things unfold without forcing them. By the end of the day, nothing dramatic may have changed. The same people exist, the same challenges remain, yet inside there is less resistance, less noise. A sense that you walked through the day without losing yourself in it. And as evening comes, the mind feels a little lighter, as if it no longer needs to hold every wound so tightly, allowing you to rest in a quiet, untroubled calm. There comes a point in life when the desire to win begins to feel heavy, not because victory is wrong, but because it asks for a kind of constant tension, a readiness to defend, to compare, to prove. Many people spend years chasing the feeling of being right, being recognized, being acknowledged as stronger or wiser. And for a while, it seems to work. The mind feels sharp. The ego feels safe. Yet beneath it, there is often a quiet exhaustion that few people admit. The Stoic mind moves differently. Not out of weakness, not out of fear, but from understanding what true victory costs. To win against someone often means carrying their resistance within you. You replay conversations, sharpen arguments, imagine better responses long after the moment has ended. Even when you win, part of your energy remains tied to the conflict. The body relaxes slowly, if at all. The heart stays alert, as if waiting for the next challenge. There is another way to look at it. Imagine two people walking side by side. One is constantly turning to check whether they are ahead. The other simply walks at a steady pace, aware of the path beneath their feet. The first person measures progress against others. The second measures only the quality of their own steps. From the outside, they may look similar. Inside, their experiences are completely different. To win over someone else is often temporary. Today's victory becomes tomorrow's new comparison. Another argument, another opinion, another need to defend the self. It never fully ends. But to keep the mind at peace is something quieter and far more stable. It does not depend on being seen as correct. It does not require applause. It simply asks whether, at the end of the day, you're still at ease within yourself. There is a maturity that arrives when you realize that many battles are invisible invitations. Invitations to react, to argue, to step into conflict that offers no lasting clarity. The Stoic spirit does not rush to accept every invitation, not because it fears losing, but because it understands the price of unnecessary engagement. Sometimes the strongest act is to remain still when movement is expected, to listen without the need to win the conversation. to let another person keep their opinion without feeling smaller because of it. This does not mean becoming passive. It means choosing where your energy lives. There are moments when action is needed, when boundaries must be clear, when words must be spoken. But even then, the intention is different. The goal is not to defeat another person. The goal is to remain aligned with your own inner balance while speaking or acting with clarity. Winning becomes irrelevant when peace is the deeper priority. Over time, something gentle unfolds. You stop feeling pulled into every disagreement. Praise and criticism begin to lose their sharp edges. You notice how much lighter life feels when your worth is no longer built on comparison. People may still challenge you. The world may still move loudly around you. Yet inside there is a quiet space that does not need to fight for existence. This is where inner freedom begins to appear. Not as excitement, not as dramatic joy, but as a subtle release. You no longer carry the pressure of proving yourself at every turn. You allow others to be who they are without turning their opinions into burdens you must answer. You start to see that peace is not something found after winning enough battles. It is something discovered when the need to win fades. And perhaps the most surprising part is how soft this freedom feels. There is no grand announcement, no moment where everything changes at once. It happens slowly, like tension leaving the shoulders without you noticing. You walk through situations that once demanded reaction, and now they pass through you like wind through open space. In the end, the Stoic path is not a climb over others. It is a quiet return to yourself. A realization that the greatest strength is not in standing above anyone, but in standing calmly within your own mind. And as the day grows quiet, you begin to feel like a traveler who no longer rushes to arrive anywhere, just walking a long road at dusk, while the light stretches ahead, gentle and golden, and each step feels like a peaceful leaving behind. Night becomes quieter now. The noise has moved farther away. What remains is only a small sense of stillness, like the moment after a long conversation when nothing more needs to be explained. You sit with your thoughts, not fighting them, not chasing them, just letting them settle where they choose. Life continues to move as it always has. People come close, people leave. Some understand you, some never will. The days bring warmth and sometimes weight, but somewhere along the way, something inside has become less hurried. The need to argue with the world softens. The urge to defend every feeling grows quieter. You begin to notice how much of life happens without asking for your control. There is no sudden transformation. No sharp turning point, only small moments that slowly change how you carry yourself. A pause before responding, a breath before judging, a willingness to let silence exist without filling it immediately. These things feel almost invisible, yet they reshape the space within you. The Stoic spirit is not loud. It does not stand on a stage. It does not announce that it has learned something important. It simply walks through life with a calmer gaze. When joy comes, it receives it gently. When pain arrives, it does not collapse under it. It watches. It learns. It keeps walking. Sometimes the world misunderstands this quietness. It may look like distance, but it is not distance. It is closeness to what is real, to what can be touched, felt, and lived in this moment. not lost in the endless stories the mind creates about how things should have been. There are evenings when you look back at the day and realize how many things happened beyond your control. Words spoken by others, choices made without you, unexpected turns. And yet, you also notice something else. You were there, present, carrying yourself with a little more ease than before. Not perfect, not untouched, just slightly more steady. Perhaps that is enough. The heart still feels. It still remembers, but it no longer needs to hold every moment so tightly. Some memories pass through like shadows across water. Some feelings arrive and then quietly leave when they are allowed to move without resistance. You learn that peace is not a frozen state. It breathes, it changes, it comes and goes like light across a wall. There is a quiet dignity in accepting this rhythm, in understanding that strength does not always look strong. Sometimes it looks like softness, like choosing not to chase what has already gone, like allowing others to be unfinished, just as you are unfinished. The world stops feeling like something to conquer and begins to feel like something to walk through carefully with awareness. As the night deepens, thoughts slow down further. The need for answers fades. You do not need to name everything anymore. You do not need to decide what every experience means. Some things can simply exist without explanation. Some questions are allowed to remain open, resting gently in the background of the mind. And in that quiet, a different kind of understanding appears. Not spoken, not forced, just felt. A sense that life becomes lighter when you stop holding it too tightly. That calm does not come from certainty, but from allowing uncertainty to sit beside you without fear. The room feels still. The day is already becoming memory. Tomorrow will arrive on its own whether you prepare for it or not. And maybe that is why this moment matters, because nothing needs to be fixed right now. Nothing needs to be proven. You are simply here, breathing, watching the quiet settle around you. The Stoic path, in the end, is not a destination. It is a way of sitting with life as it moves, without rushing it, without resisting it, without asking it to be different before you allow yourself to be at peace. The silence grows deeper, and you realize nothing was ever chasing you at all.